This is Black Market Borg, written by Christopher Donleona, known as Peaceful-blu on the Short Stories Reddit. FP could feel the zap of electricity even before the chip was inserted properly. The closer it got to his cortex port, the more his brain tingled, and once a triumphant moment happened, a jolt surged through the rest of his titanium-littered body. After going half Borg, half of FP's functioning nerves were replaced by ASST, Artificial Sensation Synthesizing Touch. He immediately regretted the procedure because of this fact. He would eventually come to live with the artificial replacement. The devs at Aegis Core got a lot of backlash for their products killing off half the remaining nerves after successful procedures. It took years, but they would eventually come out with an updated chip that was supposed to merge natural and artificial sensory feedback, creating a hyper-realistic feel. This tech is known as the Throb chip, and today, FP can finally get his hands on one. The procedure takes less than 30 seconds, including configuration, which is made a lot quicker by those who have been Borged out for at least 6 months, which FP has been. Alright FP, we successfully interfaced. How do you feel? The Aegis Corps physicians asked. Be perfectly honest, Doc. I don't really feel anything. I mean, no more than usual. FP was slightly disappointed. Give it some time, son. It works. I have one myself, and I believe me, it feels like I never Borged in the first place. If you say so, Doc. Alright, you're good to go. Come back in a week's time, and we'll run a full diagnostic. FP simply nods and hops off the table. The doc ushers him gingerly out the door and walks him to the exit. And with a final pat of approval on the back, he sends him on his way. Though knowing you might not even need that long, the physician says under his breath after FP is far enough away. FP didn't feel the pat on the back, but he decided not to say anything, opting to just go home for the night. As he walks the dingy moonlit city streets on his way home, he recalls all of his friends and their experience with the Throb. They all said it worked immediately, and it was as if their cybernetics had disappeared. What a crock. I knew this trip wouldn't work with the black market parts. I shouldn't have gotten the procedure, FP says, sucking his teeth. He looks down at his glistening black and blue titanium arm, wanting to be able to feel with his original hand again, but is stuck with the fact cold metal is lifeless and unrealistic. His self-indulgent pity party takes up all of his attention until he's nearly home. FP notices moments before reaching the front door of his building, the heavy pulse of his blood touching the cybernetic parts of his body. He had never been hyper-aware of his own anatomy before, but now it's all he can think about as his body throbs with every beat of his heart. Suddenly he's awash with information as his nervous system goes into hyperdrive, enhancing everything he can perceive. His sense of smell peaks at the aroma of Miss Jensen's freshly baked cherry pie. She lives on the 5th floor. His ears vibrate as he picks up on Ashton's drum solo going crazy on the 7th. The passing wind is starting to make the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end, something he had felt in years. And finally, his vision sparks to life. He can now see the tiniest cracks formed in the wooden door, which normally looks perfectly smooth. Under normal circumstances, FP would be elated to feel all this. However, the Throb chip isn't supposed to do this, he thinks to himself. He did his extensive research to make sure he knew all the side effects. FP stands stagnant in a trance for the better part of 2 minutes as his body begins to well up with sensor overload. His vision, as perfect as it is, shifts to hyper contrast. Colors begin to flare, giving out a 3D effect on anything in sight, causing his depth perception to effectively disappear. In a moment of panic, wanting release from the torrent of kaleidoscope disorientation, he reaches for the door handle. No door handle is present. Again he thinks, release, and his body is flung back and down the stairs of the stoop. On reflex, he grabs for the railing, but to no avail. He closes his eyes, bracing for impact. Clang! He hits the ground with the cacophonous thrum of rustling cybernetic metal. The pain he feels is immense, though he knows he is okay because his injury sensors haven't gone off. As he pushes himself up meekly from the concrete, he can feel the rough texture of unforgiving stone scraping against his metal. FP gasps in astonishment as dopamine from the sensation floods his body. In excitement, FP yells, "Yes!" He doesn't notice the rumble under his body as he springs to his feet with zero effort, or the number of car alarms blaring in the background, nor the crack of concrete and breaking glass left in the wake of something big. He also doesn't notice the mangled metal railing as he ascends the stairs to the front door of his building and passes through the doorway unencumbered. At this point, FP still hasn't opened his eyes. Miraculously, he reaches his apartment unrestricted, with his eyes still closed. The moment he lays his head on the pillow, he falls into slumber. All the while, the cybernetics of his body change and acclimate to the new software, morphing into something different. The next morning, he wakes up to the AC blowing air on his face, a refreshing awakening he hasn't felt in years. He finally opens his eyes again and finds a kaleidoscope vision remains, but is more subdued. In his brain, he hears software update successful, BMP pulse chip activated, enjoy your new body. At the end of the message, he sees a black smiley face with stitches traversing the middle portion of his face. That doctor wasn't Aegis Corp, FP says, recognizing the symbol. Directly in front of FP's bed, his TV plays breaking news. Parts of the city are in tatters after a rogue cyborg went on a rampage, destroying the city. No one was harmed in his incident, but there was severe amount of property damage, the news states. Investigators are looking for any other clues as to who could have caused this much carnage. So far, craterous cement fissures, broken glass, and mangled metal have been found. What's happening to the city, FP says as he hears a commotion coming from the hallway. All of his neighbors are making their way downstairs and outside to see what's amiss. When FP finally makes his way downstairs to see the door of the building has been blown off the hinges. Outside, every piece of metal within several blocks has been twisted beyond recognition. And as he walks along the street looking around, he notices every window in the neighborhood has been shattered. People are sitting in their cars, downtrodden, finding their batteries are dead and drained. Who could have done all this in one night, FP says aloud. The text message runs across FP's vision. FP, you never disappoint. It only took you a few hours to activate it. If you want to see your handiwork, meet me at the usual spot, and don't worry about the cops. Any footage was erased in the continuous pulse you were sending out. P.S. Best subject ever. Stitch work. Damn it, FP says as he begins to make his way to the dark alley he got his body from. Again, that was Black Market Borg by Christopher Donleona, known as Peaceful-blu, over on the Short Stories subreddit. Thanks again for listening. Catch you next time.